Something is about to be exposed, not by someone you know, not by a conversation you plan to have, by the sky itself. On July 7th, 2026, Neptune, the planet that rules everything you cannot see, cannot prove, and cannot stop feeling, stations retrograde at exactly 4 degrees and 25 minutes of Aries, and when that happens, the veil drops. I want you to hear me on this. Neptune doesn't go backward often, but when it does, things surface. People's real intentions become visible. The stories you've been telling yourself about a relationship, about who you are, about what's real, those stories start cracking at the seams. This isn't the universe punishing you, it's the universe handing you a flashlight. So let's talk about what's actually happening in the sky on July 7th, why this particular Neptune retrograde is unlike anything we've seen since the 1860s, and what it might mean for you specifically, because not everyone experiences this the same way. First, why does any of this matter right now? Neptune entered Aries on January 26, 2026, for the first time in approximately 165 years. That's not a small thing. Neptune spends around 14 years in each sign, so when it crosses the threshold into a new sign, it signals a generational turning point. The last time Neptune was in Aries was between 1861 and 1875, a period marked by radical ideological shifts, the collapse of old structures, and the emergence of entirely new collective identities. And now here we are again. Neptune in Aries carries a very specific tension. Neptune is the planet of dissolving. It softens, blurs, merges, and confuses. Aries is the sign of raw, direct, immediate identity. It's Mars-ruled. It doesn't do fog. It doesn't do subtlety. It charges. So what happens when the planet of illusion lands in the sign of blunt truth? Things get ripped open. The soft fantasies Neptune prefers to maintain get scorched by Aries' fire. And when Neptune turns retrograde, that process goes inward. You're not just watching illusions dissolve in the world around you. You're watching them dissolve inside yourself. Here's what that looks like in practice. Sign 1. You suddenly can't maintain a story you've been telling for months. You know that thing you've been saying about why you're still in that situation, why it's fine, why it's going to change soon. Under Neptune direct, it's surprisingly easy to sustain that narrative. Neptune direct has a sedative quality. It keeps you comfortable inside a beautiful, somewhat blurry version of reality. When Neptune stations retrograde on July 7th, that sedative starts wearing off. This isn't a dramatic moment. It's quiet. You're sitting somewhere ordinary, at your desk, making coffee, and the thought arrives clearly, without drama. This isn't what I said it was. There's no trumpet, no lightning, just clarity, where fog used to be. That clarity might feel like grief at first. Let it. Grief is what happens when something that wasn't real finally gets called by its real name. Sign 2. Hidden dynamics in relationships begin to surface. Neptune rules what's hidden beneath the surface of connection. The unspoken agreements, the things people perform instead of feel, the ways love and manipulation can wear the same face. During Neptune direct motion, it's possible, genuinely possible, to be in a dynamic and not see it clearly. Not because you're naive, because Neptune is literally the planet that governs the veil between what appears real and what is real. It's an astrological function, not a personal failure. But here's what happens at the retrograde station. That veil becomes transparent. You start noticing things you glossed over before, a tone, a pattern, a discrepancy between what someone says and what they actually do. This is especially significant right now, Because Neptune retrograde is occurring alongside a powerful outer planet configuration. Pluto is already retrograde in Aquarius at 5 degrees, and Uranus recently entered Gemini, creating what some astrologers are calling a rare air-fire trine among the outer planets. Clarity and disruption are working together. Whatever's been hidden has less shelter to hide in. Watch your close relationships between July 7th and December 12th. Not with suspicion, with presence. Presence is different from paranoia. It simply means you're paying attention. Sign 3. Your spiritual identity is being stress-tested. This is the one that catches people off guard. Neptune retrograde in Aries specifically targets the intersection of spiritual belief and personal identity. Aries rules the self, the I am. Neptune rules the infinite, the divine, the mystical. When Neptune moves backward through this sign, it asks a confrontational question. Is your spiritual practice actually connected to who you are, or is it a costume? Are you meditating because it genuinely changes you, or because the idea of being someone who meditates is appealing? Are your beliefs actually lived or beautifully framed on a vision board? This isn't a judgment, it's an invitation, because the people who sit with that question, honestly, without defensiveness, come out of this retrograde period with something solid, something that isn't performance, a faith, or a framework, or a knowing that can survive being looked at directly. The people who skip that question, they'll likely cycle back to it in December, when Neptune stations direct and the full picture becomes available. Sign 4. Old wounds about your identity resurface, and this time, there's a reason. Neptune retrograde has a way of excavating things. Specifically, it excavates the places where you built your sense of self on a foundation that was never quite solid. Maybe someone told you something about yourself when you were young, and you absorbed it. Maybe you made a decision about who you were based on a period of your life that's over now. Maybe you've been carrying a self-concept that doesn't actually fit you anymore. It just feels familiar. The Aries placement of this retrograde is crucial here. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It governs beginnings, origins, the root of self. Neptune retrograde in Aries is literally the cosmic equivalent of going back to the beginning of your story and asking, was any of this accurate? What was projection? What was truth? This is uncomfortable work. It can feel destabilizing. But if you feel old things coming up between July and December, old shame, old fears about who you are at your core, understand what's happening cosmically. This is not regression. This is excavation. There's a difference. Sign 5. Deceptions that were functioning become visible. I want to be precise about what I mean here, because this is where people sometimes spiral into paranoia, which is not useful. Neptune retrograde doesn't create betrayal. It reveals what was already there. If something or someone was functioning on a lie, even a comfortable one, even a self-sustaining one, the retrograde period creates conditions where that lie becomes harder to maintain, harder for others to maintain about you, harder for you to maintain about yourself. This can show up in situations as varied as a business partnership, where the terms were never quite clear, a friendship where the affection was more one-directional than you acknowledged, or a belief you've held about the world that the actual evidence around you doesn't support. Neptune retrograde in Aries, specifically at 4 degrees 25 arc minutes, and this is exact positioning, is forming a contact with the world point, the 0-degree Aries axis. The world point is astrologically significant because it connects personal experience to collective events. What gets revealed during this retrograde isn't just personal. There's a collective layer to it. The things surfacing in your life are echoing something larger happening in the world around you. You are not alone in your disillusionment, and that matters. Sign 6. Your intuition sharpens in a way that may feel disorienting. Here's something counterintuitive. Neptune retrograde is actually one of the better periods for developing genuine intuition. Not the performance of intuition, not the aesthetic of crystal holding and moon journaling for show, but actual, usable inner guidance. Why? Because when Neptune moves backward, the outer noise it usually generates, the confusion, the idealization, the blurry romanticism, begins to quiet. And what's left is signal. Some people describe this phase as hearing their own thoughts more clearly than usual. Others notice that their body gives them information their mind hadn't processed yet. A sense of unease about a situation that logic was still defending. A feeling of calm about a decision they'd been dreading. These are not mystical experiences. These are your nervous system and your deeper knowing becoming briefly audible. If you have natal placements in the early degrees of cardinal signs, that's Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn between roughly 1 and 4 degrees, you are going to feel this more than most. Not because something is wrong with you, because the retrograde is making direct contact with your personal chart. Think of it as Neptune knocking on a specific door in your life, rather than just drifting through the neighborhood. Sign 7. Something you've been waiting to see finally becomes clear. This is the gift. This is what Neptune retrograde at its best actually delivers. Between July 7th and December 12th, 2026, there's a window. A window in which the things that have been obscured by denial, by wishful thinking, by other people's projections, by your own need for things to be different than they are, start coming into focus. I want you to hold that, not with urgency, not with fear, with readiness. Because clarity, once it arrives, moves fast. And the people who've been doing the internal work, the ones who've been asking honest questions, sitting with uncomfortable answers, releasing the need for reality to look a specific way, those people tend to respond to clarity with action. Clear, grounded, directed action. That's very Aries energy, by the way. That's exactly what Neptune in Aries wants to produce. Not dreamers, but people who dream with their feet on the ground. So what do you actually do with this? Between now and December 12th, when Neptune stations direct at 1 degree, Aries 37 arc minutes, you have 5 months of this retrograde window. That's not a short time. It's not meant to be. Neptune doesn't rush. Here's what will serve you in this period. Practice noticing the difference between comfort and truth. These are not always the same thing. Comfort is what keeps us in situations past their expiration date. Truth is what sets things in motion. Ask yourself quietly and without needing an immediate answer, what am I pretending not to know? Don't force it. Just leave that question open. Neptune retrograde has a way of answering it for you on its own schedule, often through ordinary moments that suddenly feel charged with meaning. And if something surfaces, something painful, something that requires you to update your understanding of a person or a situation or yourself, let it. The shattering that Neptune retrograde produces is not destruction for its own sake. It's the wall coming down so that something real can be built in its place. You've been operating with some version of a veil. You might not have known that. Most people don't, while it's up. On July 7th, the planet that placed it there goes backward. And backward, in this case, means toward the truth. Pay attention. What comes up now is not a coincidence.